Well, greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on Historic Route 66 with an explication request. If you have an explication request, send it to explicationrequest@guruexamprep.com. Be more than happy to try and help you out. In an investor's account, you find one short CVX June 55 call and one long CVX June 65 call. So we should be able to identify this as a spread. Same option, call, different action, sell, buy, which was obtained through creating a net credit of 425. So we should have been able to figure out this was a credit spread, even if it was missing the premiums. They gave us the difference. That's what spread means, the difference. They said the difference in the premiums between the short call and the long call is a credit, more money in than out. Now, the reason I say we should have known that is because we should know that lower strike call contracts always have greater premiums. So we would have been able to figure out whether this is a credit call spread or not, even if they didn't give us the premiums. The market price goes to 64.75, and the contracts are closed at intrinsic value. So a lot of test takers get hung up on closing out positions, right? We have opening and then closing. And when we're closing out the position, we hope we have more money in than out. Again, more money out than in, we've got a loss. And that's the question, what is the gain or loss? So I would set up my T, boom, there's our T. And boom, there's our net credit of 4.25, right? From that alone, we know that we want the contracts to expire, and we would like the difference in the premiums to get smaller than 4.25. That's the thing that most people get hung up on. You don't need to understand it because, it goes together all the time. Credit has 6 letters, expire has 6 letters, narrow has 6 letters. And then we did an opening sale on the 55 call, and we did an opening purchase on the 65 call. So that's important as again because of this thing called closeout, right? So closing out the opening sale, we're going to do a closing purchase. And to close out the opening purchase, we're going to be doing a closing sale, the offset. It looks like I didn't label the other part of my T there with debit on the other side, money out, minus sign, whatever floats your boat. I like to think about options as being about floors and ceilings. And there's a floor here at 55. 55 or lower contracts expire. I make $425. At 65, game over. All the action takes place between those strikes because I'd either exercise the 65 call, don't want to do that, but at least it's smarter than doing a naked call, right? I deliver at 55 and I lose 10 points. So there's only 10 points to be made or lost here. The most the difference on the premiums can get is the 10, right? 66, the 55 calls worth 11, the 65 calls worth 1 intrinsically. All right, so here's the market price. The whole point is I'm saying I want to play between 55 and 65, and then I don't want to play no more. As I said, we should know that whenever we collect money, the best case is we keep it. So 55 or lower, we get to keep the premium. Our max gain in a credit spread is the credit. Now, test taking trick, we should know the gain and the loss always equals difference in the strikes, right? So there's 4.25 to be made. That means we can lose 5.75. Test another test taking trick. We know the break even is somewhere between 55 and 65. I could shop my answer set if they asked me the break even and say, okay, where do I want it to be in relationship to this? I can get out anything or eliminate any choice outside the range. The break even has to be somewhere between 55 and 65. We have a memory aid device to get this break even of 59.25, which is cow. Call and to the lower. Now we need to know where do we want the market price to be in relationship to that. And the larger premium dominates the position. So the larger premium here is that short call. That short call is bearish. And so we want the market price of CVX to be below 59.25. Uh-oh. They tell me that it's at 64.75. So that is going to be 5.5 points in the wrong direction from my break even. So that's one way to proceed. Now it says you close out an intrinsic value. So the intrinsic value of the 55 call is 9 3/4. Remember, we did an opening sale, so the way we close out is to do a closing purchase. The 65 call has 0 intrinsic value. There's no such thing as negative intrinsic value. It either has it or it does not. And the 65 call has no intrinsic value. So it looks like I'm in trouble here. And the reason I'm in trouble is the difference in the premiums didn't narrow. The difference in the premiums widened. When I did the spread, sold the spread, the difference, the spread, that's what spread means, was 4 1/4. And now the difference, the spread, the difference is 9 3/4. So I am a loser. I've got more money in than out. I've got 5.5 points on one contract, each contract covering 100 shares. So I lost 5.5 points or $550. That is the answer to this question. This is a pretty difficult phraseology in terms of the spread. So, anyways, hopefully you found that helpful. Again, the test taker here told me in their email that what they're struggling with is this idea of closing. However, by way of reminder, you didn't really need to buy into the phraseology. As if you've been following me, I tell you there's 8 questions about a spread. Don't hate the 8. Can you identify the spread? Here they did that for us. They said it's a credit, but we should be able to identify a spread. Soda, same option, different action. Can we determine credit or debit? If we get that right, we can rock and roll because it's either credit expired narrow or debit expired debit exercise white. And here they told us it's a credit. Thank you so much. So once I get credit, I know credit expire narrow. Each of those have 6 letters. Max gain, I should know the max gain and max loss adds up to the difference in the strikes. So whatever these two numbers are, add up to 10, and I already have one of the numbers. It was given, which is 4 1/4. The max gain and credit spread is the credit. Now, I think that's easier to know that 10 is what it adds up to. So 4 1/4 plus something equals 10. That's 5 3/4. Or you can memorize, that the maximum loss in a credit spread is the difference in the strikes less the net credit. I just think that's a mental mess, but however you get there. Break even, we're going to use cal or push. Call, add to the lower, or put, subtract from the higher. We're going to add the net premium. Doesn't matter whether it's a debit or credit, whatever that net premium is. Here it's 4 1/4. We're going to add it to the lower strike, and we get our break even at 59 1/4. And then the last thing we got to be able to do on a spread is determine bullish or bearish. And the way we do that is the larger premium dominates the position. Lower strike calls are always going to be the dominant leg. Lower strike calls always have greater premiums. Higher strike puts always have greater premiums. That'll always be the dominant leg in a spread. Longer term option contracts always have greater premiums. That'll be the dominant leg. The mantra is lower, higher, longer in terms of remembering that. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have an explication request, send it in, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Remember, inch by inch, spreads are a cinch. Yard by yard, spreads are hard.